Hi everyone, my name is Atavia Barmer and I'm here with Brendan Sherd. And tonight we are bringing to you the wonderful podcast called What is Up with Mental Health and Everything Else. So let's get into it. What is mental health?
What is mental health? Sometimes when I start this off, I like to ask, what is it mental health? You know what I mean? Mental health is so impactful in a lot of different ways where, you know, we have our physical health, right? You know,
Right.
you get a paper cut or you break a bone, to go see a doctor because they can heal that part of the physical. So, in that regard, what is mental health then? Mental health is, knowing about your mind, your emotions, your behavior, why you do the things that you do, why don't you do certain things that you do, as it impacts you as the individual. It is a wellness check within, like, how do you feel? Are the behaviors you're doing beneficial for you or maladaptive for you? All of that falls into mental health.
Absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I like to define mental health as a balance between your emotional and your mental.
Yeah.
Because if one of the other is failing, then you're going to fail.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really just a balance in between the two,
Mm-hmm.
keeping them at the same level so you can function. So I this week, this past
Yeah.
week with midterms,
Mm-hmm.
and personal issues, I've had my mental health down bad.
Yeah.
Is down bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that I'm here today. I have the energy to produce to you this podcast
Yeah. Yeah.
and talk about mental health because it's a high thing in America right now. Like
Absolutely.
everyone is struggling and no one knows who to turn to. So this podcast will be a sort of comfort. It will be a safe space. You can talk about whatever you need in the DMs and the comments, however you feel. If we're touching on a subject that you're suffering from, please feel free to comment
Mm-hmm.
and say your piece. We are here to listen. This is, as our flyer says, your voice, your view matters because it does. And I'm so glad to have you partnership with
Mm-hmm.
me to bring to Bloomfield campus and around the area this
Mm-hmm.
podcast because it's going to change so many lives and it's changing mine right now. And I'm so glad this idea has, just picked up and took
Yeah, it's coming
off.
to fruition. It's
Yes.
been a long time coming where, from an idea to this platform that we have right now.
Absolutely.
Um, as Octavia was saying, we are utilizing this to talk about mental health, and feel free to add in as far as, like, what does mental health mean to you. What are your thoughts? We would love to kind of read the comments and kind of interact in that regard as far as, like, addressing some of your thoughts about mental health, because it is a very popular topic and it's a very helpful topic, and we are here trying to provide that space, and I will say too, if in hearing this, and whether now or throughout the video, if mental health for you has been a challenge or anything, there is national hotlines that you can call. 988 is one in particular. New Jersey, we're in the state of New Jersey, and they have a New Jersey Hope line that you can call. If mental health is an issue, please reach out to those resources so that you can make sure that you can get the adequate help that you need. Okay?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it's very important.
It is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can become extreme to the point where you don't want to deal with it anymore. And you could find any escape to just not deal with it. And from someone who suffers from mental health, I would say talking about it is the best way to go. Do not hide from it. Do not shy away from it. Do not try to escape from it because you will put yourself in a cycle that will never end.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about it, discussing it, feeling it, connecting to what you are going through is the best way to move on, move forward, and see a brighter light.
Yeah.
So please whenever it gets too difficult for you, do not try to do it on your
Right.
alone.
You
Do
know,
not.
I'll share insight too, where, you know, I get how when it comes down to things that pertain to mental health, like your emotions, your feelings, your the way you think, the way you act. You know, everybody feels like they are in control of their life, and yes, you are. And you know, we'll get into stigma soon
Oh
as far
yeah.
as surrounding mental health, but everybody has this presence of like, I'm good, I can do this, and my mental health is my mental health, and I'll handle it. It's a big concept out there, and yeah, I'm happy that there's a matter of like self regulation that you can do, but where mental health could go if it gets too bad, there is a reason why talking it out to others can be helpful, right? Because for sure, when you're in the midst of something that is impacting your mental health in a negative way, to a point where it gets really challenging over a while, you have such a personal connection to it, to this idea in this pattern that is happening to you. So, and it's hard to just see that and distinct that from what would be a normal point of well being. So, when you get to talk to somebody about what you're going through, they have a more objective standpoint. They're definitely there to help you, but they have an objective standpoint in a neutral, like emotional zone that is available to you as they hear what you're going through and can take that in and present it back to you in a way that you can overcome it. You know, that's a main thing that happens in counseling and therapy, and that's one of the reasons why it works. You know, it's a research based field that we know how to talk with another person and then identify what things are going right, what things are going wrong, based off of research. And of course, it's based for the person. What works for one person may not work for another person, but we put that into the context of the person who is in therapy or in counseling. And we're able to process this in collaboration with you in attempts to get you to a better place of well being.
Yes.
Okay?
And this is coming from a personal
Hello.
counselor, you guys. So it's just not hearsay. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So listen, and it's crazy that you said that
Yeah.
because I used to be someone who says, this is my life, this is the things I'm going through, I don't need help. But now that I have multiple mentors, I have a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, I have friends, it's great talking, instead of holding it in
Yes.
because
Yes.
that's when it becomes overwhelming and you drive yourself to a dark place. Don't do that. Don't be like me. Please don't be like me.
It's you're absolutely correct. You know, like there's no need to hold on to it when there is help available.
Exactly.
To anybody at Bloomfield College right now, listen to this. If any of this is resonating, do know that we are in part of the Wellness Center, second floor of Talbot Hall, and you have at least 8 sessions of therapy or counseling available to you as a student here. So if what we're saying, you're like, oh, okay, you got me intrigued. You want to try it out? You want to fix? You want to work on something pertaining to mental health? Hey, we are here for you.
Yeah, and if you feel like going the professional route is too much for you, if you're not comfortable with it, you have friends. Speak to your friends.
Absolutely.
Speak to someone you trust. Just even if you don't want to speak to anyone, journal. Please
Hey.
journal because you feel free to write whatever thoughts you have, and no one will judge you for it because it's your thoughts on a piece of paper, and now you can read how you feel, and then you can understand how you feel. So it's so many choices out here to help you overcome mental health. Just by sticking it out by yourself is not a good way to go. And I keep trying to tell myself this, like I'm speaking to you guys, but I'm also speaking to
Yeah.
myself. Like, girl, you gotta take your own advice because sometimes you drive yourself crazy thinking you can handle it by yourself, but handling it alone is sad and it sucks. And nobody wants to be sad. Like life is an opportunity every day.
Mm-hmm.
So you choose to wake up, you choose to eat breakfast, you choose to get dressed, choose your mental health too. Choose to have a better way of thinking, a positive way of thinking, be healthy. Everyone loves to be healthy. We
Mm-hmm.
try to eat healthy, we work out, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Try to do that with your brain.
Right,
Work your
exactly.
brain out,
That's mental health. Absolutely. That's
Yes.
mental health right there. Like, they're like you were saying with physical health, like people exercise, they try to eat healthy. These are things that one does to try to maintain a good sense of physical health. And don't get me wrong, physical health definitely impacts mental health. And we'll get into that a little bit. But there are certain things that you can do to make sure that you have good psychological and mental well-being as well. It's like feeding your brain to make sure that you're working at a optimal place, if you will. And you mentioned some earlier where it's like journaling. That's one of my personal favorites as far as a coping skill,
Yes.
or doing something that will, facilitate good mental well-being. Journaling is good. Listening to music is good.
Yes.
Gosh, sometimes people like to go for long drives. Sometimes that can be a good coping skill.
Something soothing, like
Yeah.
just relaxing. Like
Yes.
literally before we even started the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I hosted an event where we were nurturing our inner child. We were coloring, playing with Legos, talking, just something to relax,
Yes.
feel relaxed, And I don't want you guys to think, oh my God, this podcast is strictly about mental health. This podcast is about everything, everything that contributes to our well-being,
Right.
making us feel comfortable, making us feel heard, seen. This is a overall podcast of daily life. You understand?
Absolutely.
So right now, yes, mental health is popular in the communities we live in. And speaking of communities, mental health is really is like what do you say? Shut eye. Like no one really talks about it in the African American or Latinx community. And being that I'm a member of two of them, I know. So I know that you guys know. So this podcast is giving you that opportunity to shine light on how you feel, how you think, and not knowing how to go about it. Because sometimes you can't even turn
Yeah.
to your family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though I said, turn to your friends, turn to someone, there is sometimes you can't.
Right.
And you have to understand that. But you can do other things to help you cope. Coping mechanisms are there for a reason. Like if you want to play music, vibe out, paint, take long walks in the park. I love doing those.
Oh yeah.
Especially in spring and
Time
summer.
in nature.
Yes,
It's beautiful.
and it's fall. The tree colors
Yeah.
changing. So beautiful, and it helps. It doesn't only help with calming yourself, but the serotonin
There you
and
go.
dopamine
That's
that
right.
comes out, and you just feel lively.
Absolutely.
So,
As we went through earlier in this week, we went through 3 days of rain, and there's when it rains like that, it impacts one's mood, or at least it can. Everybody's different, but
definitely impact mine.
right. I was like, when is this rain going to stop? It's because nature has such a good aspect for our well-being. When it was sunny today, I encourage anybody to just like go outside for a second and kind of just like take a deep breath while outside. It can really start to produce good chemicals, like you said, like serotonin and whatnot, that will just like kind of more brighten your outlook on things and physically feel better for the time being. Another great coping skill for sure.
I seen that it was sunny outside, and I got dressed
Hallelujah.
up. I dressed myself. Fall is one of those seasons. You don't know the next weather. You don't know how it's going to be.
Ain't that the truth?
Seeing it was clear from all them rainy days. The sun was shining. You know what?
Yes.
The weather is nice, so I'm gonna feel nice.
That's right.
And I dressed up, went to handle my business, did what I have to do, and I feel good. Energy is there. I'm surrounded by people. I can interact. I'm social.
Yes.
With me, I'm not really a social bug, but being that I showed up, I can show up.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, it's you know you putting the energy in there, and it goes for something. But, I wanted to ask you a question, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier, like mental health. I wanted to get into this topic of mental health for students, like being that midterms just passed,
Yes.
and and that's just the academic part of being a student. But then there's also living on campus or maybe commuting. And what do you feel as though, as far as mental health and whatnot, what does
Um,
mental health for the student look like? The
so
ups, the downs. Give me a little bit. Listen, you're in that table right now. I
yes.
want to hear.
So it's a challenge, it's a
Hmm.
work in progress, being worrying about school, worrying about involvement, making friends and all of that.
Yeah.
It does tap,
Yeah.
your mental health is like up and down every day.
Hmm.
You don't know
Hmm.
what to expect because something is always changing.
Hmm.
I'm a second year transfer
Okay.
here at Bloomfield. So I'm struggling with making friends, and that's kind of making me feel like maybe I'm not good enough, and it triggers my anxiety
Hmm.
of being social
See.
and things of that nature. But I put myself out there
Hmm.
to gain that, social aspect of the college life. And school, of course, that's going to be stressful because everyone wants to pass, everybody wants their
Right.
degree, we want to get out and, just experience life.
Hmm.
And then college itself is a self experiencing experience, I guess.
Yeah.
A self, like you're just finding yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
you'll think you know who you are, and then you'll interact with people, and then you're like, wow, I'm not as I thought I was. So
For
I
better or
had,
for worse,
yes,
right?
I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
moment a couple days ago. I hold myself at high standard, so
Hmm.
I already think
Hmm.
that I'm mature. And then I'm speaking to these to someone about what I'm going through, what I'm dealing with, and he gives me an insight. And then I think to myself, I go into my head because I stay in my head. I make my decisions. I just be in my head all the time. So I go to my safe space and I take in what he said to me, and then I realize I'm not as mature as I thought I was. So now that is something, that realization is helping me, change how I
I see.
think,
I see.
you
Okay.
know,
Okay.
and then changing the way that I think, my thought process is going to help my mental health.
Hmm.
So if I
Hmm.
constantly think negative, 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 now I know where I need to work on so I can think
Hmm.
positive. And that overall changes my mental health
I
and
see.
how I go
Yeah.
about my daily life.
Yeah. I would say when you first encounter this information or this change of perspective, your mental health might be impacted bad in a way because it's like, wait, oh my gosh. There's a concept called cognitive dissonance, right? Where what you've known and what you've always thought, it has worked. And then here comes this new piece of information, like, the person that you ran into saying something completely different. And it's like, whoa, whoa, this goes against what I believe, like
Exactly.
what I've experienced, what I feel. And like, what am I to do with this? Right.
Right.
So in that little moment, in that little instance, like mental health can be impacted, but that's one because we're just trying to figure out how to assimilate this information in a
Absolutely.
way that then is beneficial or more productive. You'll have better mental health for it
Yeah.
if you're able to like incorporate it into you as a positive way. Um, yeah, and I feel like that's what college in itself is all about. College, university, going to school, the whole bit. You come into this situation wanting to learn, no, like knowing that there's more to learn about a lot of different things, and I think up front, students can recognize like, okay, I'm going to learn more about my major that I picked, or even if you come in undecided, like I'm going to learn more in general. Okay, on the academic side, that's cool, but then also in college, you learn a lot more about life too, which maybe people don't get at first.
Yeah.
Like it's like if you thought it was going to be a continuation of high school, especially if you like live on campus or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's going to be different,
Yeah.
and that difference, that uncomfortability, is a challenge.
You gonna
Like,
cry.
I want to just say to all y'all, like, it is normal to feel a little like impact, like your mental health to feel impacted, or just like, ooh, I don't know where we're at today because you went to school.
Yeah.
It's normal because it's a big difference.
Yes. And this is targeting the freshmen, you know?
Ah, yeah,
Because they're coming in
yeah.
and they're like, you know what? Just continue in high school. You know, I'm gonna keep doing what I already know how to do. Yada yada yada. And then everybody wanna, you know, how on social media, college is glorified of the party scheme.
Mm-hmm.
You know, come to college and you're gonna have fun. You're gonna meet the love of your life. You're gonna have a friend group, and the seniors are expecting that. You know, they come into college and they're like, "Where my love? Where does the love of my life at? Where the party? Where my friend group at? Where's that? Where's that?" So when they don't have their expectations exceeded, they start to think like, "What is happening? This is not what I expected. I'm not sure if I can do this." You know,
Right.
things of that nature. And my first year, it was COVID 2020.
Right. Throw that into the mix.
And COVID, the quarantine, is a reason why this podcast is so important.
Yeah, no, for real.
Because
For real.
everyone's struggling with their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that in itself, just transitioning from adolescence to adulthood,
Yes, yes.
that can impact your mental health.
Oh, yes.
Too, because what you're used to and what you're now learning is just like, oh, it's so much.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, I'll go into that a little bit too, where like adolescence into young adult, right? These are known in psychology like developmental stages. And that into young adulthood, it's only accelerated by going off to school. Because you know, I'll use it from like the field of psychology, but correct me if I'm not hitting the marks where somebody of that age group. So like 18 to 24, which is typical college age. Talking about that group in specifically, big themes are you want some autonomy, like your own space, your own like opportunity to make your own decisions, right?
Independence, yes.
Independence, right? Thank you. Your own independence. You're grown. Everybody's you 18, you 18 or plus, right? You're an adult. And then if you go off to school and live on campus, maybe parents aren't around and whatnot, or you start to feel like an adult a little bit more.
Start showing up.
It's a good, hey, yeah, you know. So that's the first time you get to experience that, right? Exploration of love and interest, like it's more present in this, like gender expression, gender identity. This is your time to explore all of that. First time experiences, first time with a lot of things. That's college, and there, it's a little bit on the forefront because here goes back to this theme of you're an adult, and like, hey, by all means, you get to make your own decisions. Some people enter the workforce for the first time in this age. You get like a little bit of sense of money. You get to just be an individual, okay? And for the first time, now that's the part. For the first time, it could be a little challenging. It is a normal experience. I can promise you that because everything you do for the first time also always has some type of difficulties.
No one prepares you for the first time.
Right,
No
right.
one. So of course you're gonna have your expectations.
Yeah.
Everyone has their expectations for their first time and everything, and then you have the reality of the first times. So yeah, and you know what's crazy? You said something about money and money. Everyone knows how big money is, and if you don't have enough, you don't feel like you're worthy.
Yeah.
And it affects your mental.
Yeah.
You know,
yes,
it's so many things in life that can boost or tear down your own mental health, you know? So we're always gonna just bring back how these simple things can impact the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you view yourself in the world. and all of those things just come together and it creates mental health,
That's right.
you know.
Yep. It's all encompassing. And so many factors of mental health and wellness. There's a lot of factors. Like I like to use this one is made by SAMHSA, where it's their 8 dimensions of wellness. And in part of that 8 dimensions, for sure, finances is part of that. So it's very true. If
Especially as a college student.
yeah, especially, you guys have different means to get money. Like student loans, I know. It's a gift and a curse. Work study.
But if you think about it, work study doesn't bring enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Like it's there just to be there, and you're. I would say I wouldn't say it's a waste of time, but you're putting time in to not get the equivalence of time you put into something.
Yeah. It's sometimes with work study, you're capped at a certain amount of hours.
Yeah.
And what I think it's like 10 hours a week.
8.
Eight, 8 hours a week. So what? You're making, let's say it's at what, $80 or $10 an hour? I don't even know the number, but that's like $100.
That ain't
It's 80 at 10, but I'm assuming that you get more than $10 an hour for it.
It depends. It depends because when I was at Penn State, I did work study and we got paid about $9.50.
Oh boy, I was being generous.
I had to get me another job, okay? Because that's not working.
Yeah, and I see that a lot too, where, and I applaud and commend everybody who is going to school full time and working, whether it be part time, full time. You guys are hustling out there, and it's like I applaud you guys because I know tired.
It's a challenge. Okay? Yes, it's a challenge. You have to wake up for work, you have to wake up for school, you got to make sure everything is due at the due date. You just have to make sure you're keep going. And it is very exhausting, but pat yourself on the back for continuing going, just waking up and doing what you have to do. Okay? That's an accomplishment in itself, just showing up.
Yeah, no, for real, just showing up.
Even if you feel down and you show up.
Yep.
You deserve it.
I keep saying, like, you guys are in due process as far as being in school. Like, you wouldn't grow if there wasn't challenges thrown at you.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it just be like, this is just physically taxing. Like, I got to do this, and I got to do this paper, then I got to go to work. Like, it's the pressure a little bit necessary to build you into the person that a good working individual later on, full of a lot of different experiences. You're in due process. So showing up, yes, please applaud yourselves for that because it's not easy, but yet you do it. Okay. And then, let's say,
let me.
yeah, I'm telling you, yes. And do that every time you do it. Now, does that mean, okay, on the flip side, if I don't show up, that's it? No, that's not it. From a mental health perspective, self-care is very important. I would want you to look into maybe the reasons as to why. Because, people kind of can catastrophize things like, oh my God, something happened. It's the end of the world. Oh, I'm a failure. Like, I can't do this no more. It's like it's all over. No. What was the scenario that caused this? Okay. This is where journaling comes in because now you can start listing stuff like what's good for me, what's bad for me, like where am I at right now? Taking that inventory. And from there, give yourself a little grace because you've probably been doing something good for so long and you just needed a moment, okay? You just needed to check in. And that's okay too. Reach out to friends, Every school has like a counseling center. But take inventory sometimes to know where you are mentally, emotionally, and even to think about like, why did I oversleep today? Or why did I go off on somebody today? Like I must be frustrated today.
Yeah.
Like take inventory and figure out what's going on. And then talk to somebody that you can trust about the issue. And maybe you can learn a better way of handling it.
Yeah, connecting to your emotions is hard sometimes, and us, this generation, we have this idea like we don't need no emotions. Turn it off. No, yeah, I don't care. It is what it is. We have that mindset. It is what it is, but it's not. You have to understand your emotions. You have to connect to them to understand them. Really, you have to feel it. You have to let it come and let it go. And then once you do that, you're on top of the world.
Hey, listen, I like it's good that you bring that up because like, especially for my men out there, right?
Yes.
Emotions. Ugh, emotions. There's a concept in mental health psychology where like whether you want to accept it or not, your thoughts impact your emotions, which then impacts your behavior. Okay, we all have emotions, and if you don't check them or if you don't get to know them, they're going to run you, and then we're not acting at our best selves, right? I like to think about a man who can. I'm not saying like lead or live life emotion based first. I'm not saying that, but who has an understanding of how emotions works for him and which ones that he wants to emulate or express. You should have full range to express all of them, whichever way you need to, but express them. And in having the ability to do that, you're more in tune, more evolved, right? And you are more of a mastery of yourself. And that means you're more effective, more successful. You can't just disregard them. Yeah. They're there.
BALANCE.
Yeah.
Balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Balance.
Exactly. Yeah, that it's if you don't deal with them, they will deal with you. And I encourage anyone, especially my men out there. How does emotions play into your own life? How do you deal with them? How do you handle them? We'll have that,
Keep that in your mind. Keep that in your mind, okay? And that wraps up What is Up with Mental Health Podcast.
Are we done already?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Done because next week we're definitely going to get into men and emotions, okay?
Fair enough.
What is up with men and their emotions?
I like to thank some of our sponsors for this, right?
Yes.
One, the event that you had earlier, we had
The Cozy Corner, Nurturing Your Inner Child Self.
Yes, by Dr. McLean. She is the program director of Fostering Student Success. You guys need to go check her out.
Advisor of the Modeling Club.
So is she really? Yes. All right. Okay. Good. Another one, I want to give a shout out to Takeda Adams. Okay. If I got your last name wrong, I'm sorry, but Takeda, I love you.
It's TK.
Right. She is in charge of the Mentorship Network. I'm part of that myself here as an employee at Bloomfield. Join it, check it out. It's a different mentorship. Counseling can look hand in hand. Counseling has more of a clinical research aspect, but more support systems that you have, the more effective you will be. Yes. Okay, so do both.
And I'm a mentee in the mentor program, so I know.
Yeah.
And shout out my mentor, Miss Hicks. You know who you are. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see here. I always going to give a personal shout out to the Wellness Center, to my supervisor, Letitia. She is a wonderful director here of the Personal Counseling Office. You guys probably know her, probably seen her. She facilitates everything. She's great to talk to. And if anybody is interested in counseling or I always say counseling and therapy as if like it's two different things. They're the same thing. If anybody interested, you can give us an email. Email us at personal_counseling at bloomfield.edu. But I thank you guys for listening to our podcast.
Yes.
I'm closing out. I'll leave the floor to you.
Yes, well, thank you so much for tuning in and listening thus far. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you come back for next week's segment. We will talk about men and their
That's the topic.
emotional health, and we're gonna keep going. And if you guys wanna just throw out topics so we could discuss, absolutely.
Yeah, put it in the comments.
And
Yeah.
if you want to be a guest speaker on the podcast, hit me up, DM the Instagram, and we'll be glad to have you on board. So thank you so much for listening, and have a great night. Thank you.
Take it easy, y'all.